Hello Deep Valley community, welcome. One of the questions that I frequently get is why do I work so hard and follow so many companies and not invest in those companies that I'm following? So before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you can get my next video installment and go along on this value investing journey. So here's an idea. So how are your businesses performing? Do you see what I asked there? I said, how are the businesses performing? I believe that your returns approximate how the business is performing, not how your stock is doing. That's totally unrelated. How is the business performing over time? Now, in today's video, I'm going to be asking some difficult questions. I hope you'll stay through till the end. And I hope that these questions are helpful to you on your journey. This is the type of video that I would have liked to have watched when I was starting out. So, when you see a stock do this well, and imagine that this is your investment, you'd be like, wow, this stock is amazing. I'm never going to sell it. But this is what has happened to the share price going backwards. This is a hindsight. Now, this here, it's telling you nothing about the business. How is the business performing? It's just telling you what other people are willing to pay for these shares. Okay? So, what you need to think is from today, how will that business's valuation perform over the next 2 or 3 years? Okay? So, that is a difficult question to answer. But that is the type of question that you really need to think when you're an investor. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to be a buy and hold forever. Now, everybody is a buy and hold forever as long as the share price is going up. Okay? But even Buffett is not a buy and hold forever. We see this recently with his investment in Apple. We see this recently over the last 2 or 3 annual letters where he's made the allusion to the portfolio being significantly more liquid. Now, allow me to clarify, this is Warren Buffett, this is not his 2 lieutenants. This is Warren making the investment in Apple, and it's Warren exiting the Apple stock, and it's not totally, but in part, and this is Warren exiting some of his holding in airplane stocks, airlines. Now, many people come up with kind of all kinds of convoluted reasons why Warren is selling, but Warren is selling because he doesn't believe there's money to be made. There's no other reason. Warren believes that money, that capital, is best deployed elsewhere. Continuing on. Do not use buy and hold as an investment strategy, as a replacement for asking the difficult questions. If your business, because you're the owner of that business, if your business is chronically underperforming over 2 or 3 years, you got to be able to say to yourself, okay, listen, 2 or 3 years ago, I thought X, Y, and Z, and it didn't work out, and that's fine. That's exactly how this works. Most of the times, you're not going to succeed. You're going to go through a period of time, several quarters, a year or 2 years, where things are not going in your favor, okay? But it is not acceptable for continuous underperforming of a business, okay? So you got to be able to think, okay, the business, I like the management and, they're a good group of guys, but you're an investor and you're a steward of your family's capital, and you need to think, okay, the business is not performing as well, and I'm not going to be holding on to this business that is trading at a 10-year low now, because I've been invested on it for several years and I keep hearing a story. So being able to ask the difficult questions of yourself. Moving on. So, this is a post that I wrote about, and I think that this is quite helpful. So many times a person is invested in a business and they're seeking out confirmatory hypotheses. And Charlie Munger often talks about using mental models from different fields, going to a different field. So he talks about going to the field of biology, talks about Darwin, right? So Darwin, what Charlie adopted from Darwin and what I'm adopting from Charlie is looking for a disproving hypothesis. This is looking for, rather than looking for a reason why you're right. Okay, let's say hypothetically I do not, but let's say hypothetically I own Apple stock, and I'm saying, okay, Apple sells an iPhone and Apple sells X, Y, and Z, and I like using the iPhone, so therefore that is a reason to remain invested. That makes absolutely no sense. You may like the business and you may be invested in the business because you believe that Apple is becoming more of a service business, for example, but try to seek out disconfirming hypotheses. Try to think every time, very critical of your investment, why you are wrong. So surround yourself with a group of people that you admire. These might be on YouTube, this might be in online or whatever, but seek out mentors, seek out investors that are willing to ask challenging questions of possibly the stocks that you own. That is a better way, rather than seeking out people that say what you like about your business. Try to seek out people that are saying the opposite. So here's a quiz question. You can pause the video if you want to have a guess at who this person is. Pause. So this is Peter Lynch, and I use this because Peter Lynch was a terrific investor, superb investor, and he talks about in his 2 books about doing checks. And this was a period where Peter would go into malls and he would look at how a store was doing, and he would extrapolate. Okay, so this store is doing quite well, and there's a lot of queues. People want to go and get their haircuts or whatever, and there's a lot of queue, and it's a fast-moving business, and it can easily expand that business model to another mall. Now, you got to put that in context. So when Peter was doing this type of investments, malls were undersaturated part of the United States. Today, that is no longer the case. So that's the first problem. Secondly, this type of anecdotal research is more risking than it is going to lead you to great rewards. The reason is that the world is getting very much disrupted, significantly more than it was in the 80s. Okay, so the pace of disruption, for example, the pace of Amazon's, just obliterating retail is truly like incomparable to anything that we've been through before. So what is the solution to this? Look at the 10K. Just read the 10K. It tells you, as the owner of the business, how the business is performing. So just go through the 10K, just read into that, and it'll tell you all the answers you need. You don't need to do anecdotal evidence, or XYZ likes this product or this service, or, for example, this is another one that I see frequently, is that, I use a software in my business, and I think that everyone else should like the software. That tells you absolutely nothing about the landscape, the competitive landscape. This tells you absolutely nothing about the value of the market cap of the stock. So just because you like something doesn't mean that it makes for a very rewarding investment. That's what I wanted to you got to be able to be selective in your thinking. Now, so this brings me back to the art of being selective. It's kind of like the survival of the fittest. So when you are making an investment in a business, when you become a business owner, the amount of due diligence that you should put into buying a business is the same as you would as you're buying a home, right? So here, notice, I am not saying buying a property, I'm saying buying a home, something you're going to be living with over the next 3 years or more. Have you done enough due diligence? Do you understand the business enough that you can stomach when that business sells off 50%? Because most of the times, within a year, a business from top to bottom will go from a 50% markdown. So you got to be able to understand and have the stomach to be involved in that business and not doubt yourself at the worst possible time. Because if you're selling every time that the business comes down 50%, if you have a stop loss, you're going to end up with nothing at the end of the year. Your portfolio is, every time you go for 50% drawdown, you sell off at the worst possible time. your portfolio is just going to shrink over time. So the way to go about it is just to be very, very selective in the businesses that you pick out. Moving on. So what Charlie talks about is that the path towards being wealthy is not an easy one. The journey is most successfully undertaken by seeking out reasons why we're wrong. So when Charlie talks about any year that you don't destroy your best idea is a wasted year, you got to be able to be critical of yourself. You got to be able to put in the hard work and to say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. If I was not invested in this business today, would I still be invested in this business? So this puts me over to you now. So are you diluting your return? Are you having a portfolio of more than, let's say, 15 companies because you kind of liked that business 2 or 3 years ago and you felt that it was a good idea? If you would not buy this business today, don't hope that someone else will. Do not say, you know what, I bought that business and the share price was $10 and I'm just going to wait around until it comes back to $10. That's not how this works. If you would not buy that business today, that means someone else is not going to buy the business today. So you got to be able to say, okay, I'm invested in this business. Yes, I did buy it when the market cap was approximately 10 billion. It has come down to 5 billion, but the company is making approximately 1.5 billion in net income. So that's the reason, you see, so the business is making some net income. So I believe that it could keep growing its revenue. It could continue to expand. So it would grow back up to 10 billion. So that's a different type of thinking rather than I bought it at $10 and I expect it to go back to $10 because I bought it at $10. That's nonsense. I mean, that's just like, businesses don't go back to what you bought it at just because you wanted to go back to that. Businesses go back to what they're worth. Okay? So before we wrap up, thank you for watching and please subscribe. See you next time.